All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, wherever you watching, this is the one and only, The Real Lil here on this microphone for another episode of The Real Lil Show, episode 70. And we going to be acting all heavenly on this episode today. Matter of fact, I don't know about all that because I got a lot to say. So I don't know about the heavenly part. But we're going to act some type of way today on the show. And I also want to, shout out to my Vibler Nights. Obviously, some of these clips will air on my Vibe Radio, the Get Your Ass Home Afternoon show. So welcome, my Vibe Nights, my Vibe Radio, to another episode of the Get Your Ass Home show. Now, I got a special guest with me. It's boxing season. Y'all know when it's boxing season, he's here for a reason, and we here for a reason. Dean.O, what's going on, my brother?
How we doing, my brother? It's always a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir, man. And a lot of things went down over the sports world in the last couple of weeks, mainly in particular, Saturday night, we had a fight. And it indeed was a good fight. I thought it was a good fight. Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo. Canelo winning via TKO in the 8th round. Dean.O, I just want to start off with this because I know you went to the fight. And I know there was a lot of people, 70,000 people, man. And we was in a pandemic, so a lot of things were shut down. So to see and experience 73,000 fans from watching at home was a good experience. But actually being there, can you tell me, how was that experience? How was that atmosphere like before we actually get into the actual fight?
Oh, man, bro. It was like, it almost felt like nothing was ever happened or like nothing was going on, you know? It was just like, it felt like normal again. Like no one really had like masks on or anything. And like we were just like sitting normally, like seats weren't like blocked off or anything like that. And it was just like, it was so surreal because it was like, 73,000 fans for a boxing match at AT&T Stadium. Like it was just crazy. The atmosphere was electric. And it was definitely something that I certainly missed over the past, year and a half of, limited capacity or no fans at all in stadiums. So it was definitely a treat and it was a nice thing to be at.
And I would say this to kick us off. When that shows you that boxing still got some juice left.
That's
now, I know a lot of people like to say boxing is a dying sport. UFC is pushing up. Boxing is coming down. But it shows you having 73,000 fans, probably the most fans we had in a sporting event since the pandemic started. That shows you that boxing still has a little bit of the juice left. It's like an older man who's in his 50s, but like, you know what? I'm fit enough to wear these jeans, these nice Calvin Klein jeans today. I still got a little something. I can get on the court and score a triple-double, Ice Cube, mess around and score a triple-double if I want to, on a good day. It shows you that boxing, when it gets the fighters to fight, it has a lot of, it still has some juice left. So getting into the actual fight, I want to know your initial thoughts on the Canelo Alvarez victory over Billy Joe Saunders.
So being there, it was a great view. I was in the second deck in like the second row, so I had a great view of the ring. And just watching it, I wanted to be a fan for the night, but I just knowing boxing and boxing myself, like I couldn't do it. I had to score it. I had to take it seriously. So the way I had it going into the 8th round, I had Canelo winning by a round. I had him up 4-3. I thought it was a close fight. I had Billy Joe winning the 1st, the 4th, and the 5th, and I had Canelo winning the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th. So I had it 4-3. I had it pretty close because I thought Billy Joe fought well in like the early middle rounds, like 4 and 5. I thought he fought really well. But what I didn't like to see from Billy Joe was throughout the fight, he started to get more and more cocky. He started to walk forward to Canelo with his hands dropped. His hands weren't up at all. He started nod his head no with his tongue out, doing all that cocky stuff when really, in my opinion, you shouldn't be doing that, especially when you're going up against someone with the magnitude of Canelo Alvarez. And I thought Canelo really, in the 8th round, turned it up. And when he landed that uppercut right to Billy Joe's eye, and when Billy Joe walked to that corner and his eye was shut, I was like, it's over. They're going to call this fight. He can't even see out of that eye. It was shut completely. So I thought Canelo fought well and when it mattered most. And overall, I thought it was a solid performance for Canelo. He fought well. You know, can't win every round. You're going to lose a few. But besides that, I thought he fought pretty well. And I'm looking forward to see who he's going to fight next. And Billy Joe, actually, I don't know if you saw him, my bro. Billy Joe, there was a report came out today that his career is apparently in doubt because of his eye injury that he suffered. So It's crazy what's going on right now, yeah.
And I'm glad he got the bag. You know, I'm glad he got the bag. You know, that's a way to get the bag, you know, before, because it's boxing. Injuries happen. Your career could be over like that. So I'm hoping he gets back. I figure he will get back. But if, you know, that's the end of his career, what a way to go out, because you fought a great fighter, the best fighter in the sport right now, and you took it to him. I actually had Billy Joe up around prior to that 8th round. I actually didn't. You know, a couple dudes I was texting, one of them had the same thing as me. They had Billy Joe up around, you know, and that's because I believe it was rounds 4 through 7. I thought it was Billy Joe's best, you know, body of work. After the first round, which I gave Billy Joe because I thought he was a little bit more active. Canelo was trying to fill him out. Rounds 2 to 3, you know, you saw throughout the whole fight, you saw Billy Joe reacting off of those feints of Canelo. You know, and I kind of, once you reacted to everything that Canelo's throwing or not throwing, that means you feeling his power. So it was only a matter of time where I believe Canelo would have got him out of there anyway, whether or not it was the injury took place or not. He would have got him out at some point. You can tell Canelo was hurting him with the body shots, the power, and never throughout that fight, as good of a performance it was from both guys, even Billy Joe, there was never a point in that fight where I thought Billy Joe was going to knock Canelo out. He didn't have the power. Let's keep it real. He didn't have the power to get Canelo out of there. And that was his only chance, because after the fight, they had all 3 judges who had Canelo up by a couple of rounds. Now, I could understand one judge, maybe two judges have Canelo up. But to have all 3 judges have Canelo up in a fight that was that close before Billy Joe got injured, it just shows you that for those people who saying Billy Joe quit on the stand, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Matter of fact, I'm glad he left.
That's so disrespectful.
I'm glad he left out of there, because why risk getting injured even more to not get a decision that you wasn't even going to get anyway? Me personally, I would have called me Uber, get me out of here. So there was one guy, one of the announcers, the broadcasters, that was like, Billy Joe quit. That guy needs to be fired, honestly.
Yeah, for real. That's
he needs to be fired. That's terrible. Because the brother literally fractured his eye.
You go step in there and do it.
Exactly. Come on. I hate people like that, man. Talking about he quit.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Very disrespectful for the commentator to say that. It's like, and I saw like a headline on like Bleacher Report. It was like, Billy Joe Saunders quitting. I'm like, no, he didn't quit, dude. I was there. I saw that eye completely shut. You can't see out of that damn eye. How the hell are you going to continue to go on like that? And now it could possibly be a career-ending injury. So it's like the whole quitting thing. Like, come on, man. That's just disrespectful.
Exactly. That's what I had to say. And first of all, Billy Joe actually came to fight. So it's not like he clocked away. He was running away the entire fight for you to say,
he was no slouch. He was good.
He was no slouch. He was gaining rhythm. Before that 8th round, he was gaining rhythm. All right, I thought he was utilizing his jab, moving around the ring, moving around that 24-foot ring that he requested. All right, he was using every bit of it. A lot of people like to say Mayweather was the start of Canelo being this monster. I thought it was the seeds that helped Canelo grow that lost to Mayweather. I didn't think he lost to Mayweather and Canelo was an animal from there on. I actually thought after Gennady Golovkin won is where I saw the best Canelo. Like, he learned a lot from this fight. He was moving around in the first fight against Gennady Golovkin. I thought Gennady Golovkin won that fight, the first fight. And then the second fight, he brought it to Gennady Golovkin. And ever since then, I saw a completely different Canelo. I saw an improved Canelo from Mayweather, but I saw a prime Canelo after Gennady Golovkin. What would you say to that?
I 100% agree with that statement because, as a Canelo fan, I had Golovkin winning the first fight. And because I just didn't think Canelo, he didn't look that good. He was always on the retreat. Golovkin was always coming forward. He was bringing it to him. And I really didn't give Canelo too many rounds. And it was after that, like the second Golovkin fight, I think the whole majority decision was crap because there's no way. I had Canelo winning. I think I had him up it was 116, 113 or something like that. And Canelo fought very good in the second Golovkin fight, and that was when he really took that giant step forward because it was then on was when he really started to bring it to people. You look at, he beat Danny Jacobs. He beat Avni Yildirim, beat Callum Smith. He just went on a tear after that. And, yeah, sure, he's been on a 12, 13-fight win streak since the Mayweather loss, but he's really peaked after the first Golovkin fight.
Yeah, I think that Gennady-Golovkin fight did wonders for Canelo's confidence, because let's not forget that Gennady-Golovkin was an animal at that time, and Canelo fought him. Yeah, you could say a little bit out of his prime, but he was still an animal. Guys still didn't want to fight Gennady-Golovkin. And I think once he saw that he went toe-to-toe with him, went 12 rounds with him, got a draw, even though we didn't think it was a draw, it did wonders for his confidence. And ever since then, and especially the second fight, he took off from there. And Canelo's one of those gym rats. He's one of those gym rats that, he fought twice in the last 5 months. This guy is active. He's breaking dudes down. He's active. He's not one of those dudes that takes vacations. You see him fight one fight, and he don't want to fight for the next 12 months. He reminds me of Mike Tyson, a little bit. Mike Tyson was fighting almost every month. After the fight, Dean.O, Demetrius Andrade pulled up. I don't know if you saw him. Yeah, you saw it. He pulled up. First of all, he was making a statement. He took it upon himself to go to Texas, to go to the fight, as any fighter trying to chase a big fight should do. Make yourself known, get yourself out there, let the media, let people who never saw you before see you, so they can be like, all right, let me watch his highlights, so they can start demanding the fight. You do whatever you have to do in order for you to get the fight that you need and deserve, quite frankly. And he wore this T-shirt. He had a Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo won't fight me. I thought it was brilliant marketing. A lot of people may question how he went about trying to get Canelo to give him a fight in the future, obviously crashing his press conference and going back and forth with Canelo telling him to get the F out of the stadium, out of the press conference, because you ain't fighting nobody. What do you think about Demetrius Andrade's tactics that he used to get Canelo's attention? Do you think it worked? Do you think it's, all right, he went too far, he never going to get a fight now? What do you think about Demetrius Andrade tactics that night?
I thought he could have done without crashing the press conference, but I thought him showing up to the fight and wearing the shirt was a good tactic, because, it said, it was like Canelo and Billy Joe were scared to fight Boo Boo Andrade. And I was like, I saw that on the big screen. I was like, that's interesting. I was like, that's a pretty good way to market yourself, But the thing is I don't think he's going to get that fight for a little while, because I feel like next is Caleb Plant. I know people always love to say, oh, could it be the Golovkin trilogy? No, it's going to be Caleb Plant next, because Canelo wants to unify. He goes, I want to unify super middleweight division. And the next person on the list is Caleb Plant. So I think the next fight he's going to do is probably going to be in like September, October, and it's going to be Caleb Plant. But I think eventually Andre could get that fight, but I don't think he's going to get it soon. I think it's going to be a little while.
I would say this. I actually like the tactic. I like both tactics, because whatever you could do to get yourself noticed by the public, you got to do what you got to do. I think Demetrius Andrade is probably, you have these fighters, in all weight classes, right? You have at least one. Heavyweight division, I'll probably say is Luis Ortiz. I guess you could say in the welterweight division, in a weird way, it's probably Terrence Crawford. Even though Terrence Crawford, we all know, is the pound-for-pound king, he doesn't get the big fights. So I would say Terrence Crawford, welterweight. Lightweight, I would probably say Devin Haney in lightweight, and Demetrius Andrade in middleweight. These are fighters that are great fighters that can beat any of your top fighters in your division, in your weight class at any given moment, but they get singled out. They get freezed out, because guys they don't want to take high risk, I would say. It's a lot of risk, but low reward, because these guys are not noticed by the public a lot. So it's not going to bring in a lot of money, a lot of revenue, and it's a risk. It could prevent you from getting a payday if you lose. So that's why these guys get freezed out the most. Out of all of these guys that I named, which fighter you think is the one that gets freezed out the most? Because I personally think Luis Ortiz had his opportunities. He fought Wilder twice. He had his shot, and he fumbled both times. Demetrius Andrade, me personally, I think he's the one that is getting freezed out the most. Who do you think it is?
Well, out of the three, I have to agree with you on Ortiz. I was going to go that way because he fought Wilder twice, and he went deep with Wilder twice. What the first time was was like a 10th or 11th round Wilder knockout, and the
Yeah, 10th
second time
round.
was a 7th round knockout. So like, he had his chances, and while Wilder was champion. So I mean, I don't feel like he got singled out because Wilder took that risk. I would say, if I had to pick between Andrade and Haney, I want to say Haney. It's tough, but I want to say Haney because now that Teofimo Lopez is the star of the lightweight division, and it's not Loma anymore. I shouldn't say it because Loma's still a star, but he's not the star anymore. Now it's all Teofimo. You see Ryan Garcia. He's Gervonta Davis. I mean, never happened. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but, he was calling out Gervonta Davis. I don't know, Teofimo went back and forth with Haney a little bit on the FaceTime, and I know Ryan Garcia, it's like he was supposed to do that interim fight with the Fortuna this summer before he pulled out, and then he was going to fight Haney later on down the line. But now that fight's in jeopardy, so it's like because of Garcia pulling out and going through some things. So I would have to say Devin Haney because he's sort of like the lightweight that's like, I feel like he's sort of like the last option in lightweights because everyone wants Teofimo, they want Gervonta Davis. Ryan Garcia has his mouth, and he's going to call out whoever he wants, and people want to fight him. So I would have to say I got to give it to Devin Haney over that one, just because I feel like Caleb Plant, Billy Joe, like they're all like next in line for Canelo. It wasn't like Andrade's not like next in line. So I would have to say Devin Haney, especially because Devin Haney's a champion too. So it's like I would say Devin Haney.
I think it's Demetrius Andrade simply because I believe that you have Charlo. Why you can't even get a Charlo fight? Charlo out here talking all this yin yang, and he don't want to fight nobody. He's running away from David Benavidez. All right, Gennady Golovkin has a fight that was already made weeks ago for October of next year. You mean to tell me, Gennady Golovkin, you can't fight Demetrius Andrade in between then? There's stuff like that. And then obviously Canelo just literally shunned Demetrius Andrade at that press conference. He was like, "You ain't fought nobody. Get the F out my press conference." Literally like a king telling a peasant, "Get out of here." You know what I'm saying? Bye. That's exactly how Canelo just shunned Demetrius and laughed in his face. Literally laughed like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, he was laughing. I saw, yeah.
And that's the ultimate disrespect. That's why I'm actually on this platform calling for Demetrius Andrade to get a fight. Like, at least get his shot. Even if it's with Canelo or not. At least get his shot with a Charlo, Gennady Golovkin. If Saunders gets healthy again at some point. Because he was supposed to fight Saunders. And then Saunders, they actually had that fight pretty much done. And Saunders, I guess he tested for something. I forgot how that fight fell through. But it didn't happen. So it's like, I feel like he may never get these fights, Demetrius Andrade, because Charlo is chasing Canelo. Canelo is out here trying to unify the belts. That's his main priority, is unify. And Charlo is trying to follow Canelo wherever Canelo goes. So Charlo has it in his mind. I'm fighting Canelo, or I'm not fighting nobody.
Right.
David Benavidez, I'm not taking no chances with him because I might lose. That might, prevent me from getting my shot at Canelo. And Gennady Golovkin, I will argue, his mindset is fighting Canelo as well in a trilogy. So they're not worried about Demetrius Andrade because he presents a matchup nightmare for anybody because he can move. He's very hard to hit. Them uppercuts, like, as you saw in his last fight, he's a very hard guy to hit, And I would say this, Canelo Alvarez, yes, he struggles with guys that can move, but I could argue he struggles against black fighters that can move. When you think about his loss to Mayweather, when you think about Laura, when you think about even Danny Jacobs, a lot of people had Canelo winning that fight easily. I actually scored that fight a draw. I watched that fight through and through. I thought Danny Jacobs got some rounds in. Even though Canelo looked like the clear better fighter, you have those rounds where you steal him. By out jabbing somebody and being a little bit more active and connecting a little bit more. So putting earmuffs around the crowd noise, I actually thought that fight was a draw. And Danny Jacobs wasn't even 100% in that fight. Clearly, he was, he struggled making the weight. He was a shell of himself that entire fight, and I still had it a draw. So I would say he struggles a little bit against black fighters that can move. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I would say so because people advised him back in the day not to take the Lara fight when it happened. I mean, he still came out on top, but that was a really close fight too. And, you know, his only career loss came to, well, Floyd Mayweather. So I would say, yeah, I would say that's a pretty accurate statement. But he has won more than he's lost against them. So he might struggle, but at the end of the day, he's still winning in the end. He's a winning record.
It gives him a little trouble.
But it's closer. Trouble. Yeah, it's a closer fight, yeah, than it would normally be.
If Canelo fights any of those three guys, we in for a good fight, I believe.
100%.
Dean.O, I'm going to cut it short today, man. I'm glad you came on the show to talk up some boxing with me. And I'm looking forward to the next time. We got to get together and talk about some other stuff.
Oh, yes. Yes, for sure, my guy. Maybe, you know, UFC this weekend. I'm going to be at that fight, too. I'm going down to Houston for the UFC fight. So we got that on tap. And we got some exciting things coming up. Fury and Joshua, who knows? But we'll see.
I hope, Dean.O. I hope. I think we're going to get that fight. I really do. I think we're going to get that fight for sure.
I think so, too, yeah.
Well, Dean.O, man, thank you for walking with me. On to the next one. Have a good night, Dean.O.
Yeah, I appreciate it, my bro. Thank you as always.